Someone recently emailed me and asked the question of what is the best technique for playing quietly? Everybody is always talking about how to play loudly or how to play fast, but nobody really talks about how to play quietly. This is an excellent question. Without further ado, let's talk about this today. Hey everybody, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're now going to jump over to the kit for the rest of the video. So first off, why is this important? Well, in a practical gigging scenario, most of the time we drummers are called to play in fairly small rooms or in setups where it's just not appropriate to wail away at the drums. A lot of times we've got to keep our volumes a little bit lower, and we've got to make sure that we can comfortably play well and sound well and still get good sounds out of our drums even when we're playing quietly. So really we're talking about lowering our volume ceiling so that we're still creating really good sounding, good feeling grooves just at a lower dynamic. And here's the thing, the technique that you use to play loudly cannot be the same technique you use to play quietly. Your grip is gonna have to change in some way or another. We're just gonna adjust some things, and we're gonna do something totally different for playing quietly compared to what we're doing to play loud. Also, as a side note, really just for further learning, George Lawrence Stone talks about the whole concept of playing quietly versus playing loudly in his book, Stick Control, which most drummers are pretty familiar with, and many of you have probably worked through it. If you haven't, go check it out. This is not an official endorsement. I just really like the book and I used it a bunch in college. So I encourage you to check it out. There'll be a link in the description below. But in the book, he's got a whole bunch of exercises and a lot of different cool stuff going on. He introduces the concept of practicing these things quietly because quiet playing leads to control. So what is this control I'm talking about? What exactly is this technique? Really, we're talking about fingers. And again, this isn't anything new. You know that you've got to use your fingers to play well quickly, but maybe you're not as familiar with how we can use our fingers to play well quietly. Fingers are essential because if we're only using our wrist when we're playing drums, we're going to be limited in a lot of ways. We've got to use everything we got here. And so it's important that as you're playing quietly, you're actually using your fingers to control every motion of the stick. Let me show you what I mean. I'll play some loudly, so you'll see, okay, this is the kind of grip I'm doing when I'm playing loudly, and then I'm going to adjust and gradually get quieter. You'll see what my hand does differently so that I can still control the stick and play cleanly when I get quiet. So you can see how my grip was changing as I changed dynamics. And so I like to call it dynamic grip because as we're changing our dynamics, we're also changing our grip. So our grip is also dynamic. And as we're playing loudly, we want to keep things loose. We want the stick to be moving loosely so that that energy from the drum is going back out the butt end of the stick and not into our arm, because that's not good. We want to make sure that things are staying loose. But as we get quieter, we have to control every aspect of the stick's motion. It's not moving as much, so it's not having to move much within our hand. Instead, we can keep things real firm here. Again, we're not squeezing, we're just making sure that all the fingers are in contact with the stick. So we're still kind of moving things loosely, not moving the palm of the hand too much. We're kind of just moving the thumb and the fingers here. Now, this can be tedious to practice, just to be totally honest, and it's not the most fun thing to practice. But if you can get consistent and precise and smooth with playing quiet singles, you're going to get more comfortable with them, and as you get more comfortable, it becomes more of a muscle memory thing, and the less you have to think about this, the less tedious and exhausting it can be to try to play an entire gig this way. It's also important that if we're playing at this quiet dynamic, we want to make sure that we're keeping our volumes consistent. And so if our new backbeat is going to be this, then now our grace notes have to be much lower also. And that's where that firm grip comes in so we can control that. And what is the way to get better at this? Just practicing it and just doing it. Now, yeah, it can get really monotonous doing things like this on the snare, because it really does take a lot of focus. You're having to put a lot of effort into playing well quietly like this because you're having to control it more. But once you've done that enough to feel pretty comfortable with it, take that and apply it to a groove. So then you can move around the kit a little bit with it and have more fun with it. the way I was just playing was probably the volume I'd be playing in a small room. And my grace notes were definitely really quiet. And if you're gonna be able to play those grace notes smoothly and cleanly in relation to your backbeats, you've gotta have that quiet grip together so that you can keep things clean and make sure there's a difference between grace note volume, backbeat volume, and keep everything consistent. Each thing's gotta have its place in the dynamic steps, if you think of it that way. Hey, I really hope this video helped you out and provided you with some valuable information you can incorporate into your practicing so that you can become a better drummer and play better and gig better. If that's the case, I hope you'll share the video, and I definitely hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.